Live streaming is supposed to be harmless chaos. Somebody's cat knocks over a glass of milk, a gamer screams because the Wi-Fi lags during a final boss fight, or a guy falls off his chair trying to dance to a TikTok trend. That's the world most people expect when they click into a live broadcast. Entertainment that's messy, goofy, spontaneous, but safe. Yet the darker corners of the internet don't play by those rules. In those spaces, the race for attention turns into a race for destruction, and that's where the story of Jean Pormanove, real name Raphael Gravin, takes us. Gravin wasn't a small-time streamer grinding away in obscurity. He was a known figure with over 1 million followers. That's a stadium-sized crowd who tuned in not for calm commentary or cozy cooking tutorials, but for intensity. His streams were built on extremes. The audience expected things to get risky, outrageous, maybe even uncomfortable. And that style worked. It made him bigger than most creators could ever dream of. But it also locked him into a dangerous cycle where every broadcast had to outdo the last. If you stop shocking people, they stop watching. This is how we arrive at trash streaming. If you've never heard the phrase, think of it like the basement of internet content. Stuff so reckless or degrading.
Vas-y, j'ai mon téléphone dans le jeu. Vas-y, il est cool, j'ai mon téléphone, il est pété. J'ai mon téléphone, il est pété.
Oui, la vérité. Comment il a été honnête? Il m'a dit à Marc, je te dis la vérité.
It only exists because people can't look away. Trash streams often feature people humiliating themselves, harming themselves, or egging on others to cross lines for donations and laughs. It's not about talent, not about skill, not even about creativity. It's spectacle, a digital coliseum where pain and shame are sold as entertainment. And when you put that into an algorithm-driven platform that rewards clicks above all else, you can see how it spirals fast. Gravin carved out his reputation in this chaotic corner of streaming. His audience came expecting madness, not mellow conversation. Nobody tuned in for just chatting. They wanted jaw-dropping stunts, the kind of content that made you lean closer to the screen and wonder how far he'd actually go. And like so many creators caught in the same cycle, he leaned harder and harder into the dangerous side of content. What began as wild antics, edgy, shocking, but still within the realm of internet entertainment, slowly mutated into something darker. Because when your whole career is built on pushing limits, you eventually run out of safe limits to push. And once you've burned through the stunts and gimmicks, the only way to keep the audience hooked is by crossing lines that should never be crossed. The final chapter of his career is almost unbearable to describe, but ignoring it would miss the reality of what happened. For 10 days straight, Jean Pormanove endured what can only be called torture, and all of it was broadcast live. No breaks, no filters, no way to look away. He was deprived of sleep, publicly humiliated, and subjected to acts of violence that were packaged as part of the show. And the most chilling detail? This wasn't the work of faceless trolls hiding behind usernames. It was orchestrated by 2 fellow influencers, people who weren't just aware of the suffering, but were actively directing it, knowing full well there was an audience on the other side of the screen. Now pause for a second. Picture yourself as a viewer. You're scrolling through streams, maybe looking for a laugh, maybe just killing time, and you click into a broadcast expecting the usual chaos. Some over-the-top prank, maybe a dumb stunt with energy drinks or a goofy argument in chat.
Moi je suis de ton côté, JP.
Mais regarde comment il joue, gros.
Aïe aïe aïe.
Mais regarde comment il joue. Mais putain, nique ta mère.
Instead, what loads on your screen looks like a scene ripped straight out of a horror movie. At first, you might chuckle nervously, assuming it's just exaggerated theatrics. Streamers fake stuff all the time, right? But then the longer you watch, the harder it is to pretend it's an act. The guy on screen isn't winking at the camera. He isn't hamming it up for laughs. He's slouched, his eyes heavy, his skin pale, his body marked with bruises. He looks drained, worn down, like every ounce of energy has been squeezed out of him. And through it all, the stream keeps rolling. Thousands of people logged in, staring at suffering dressed up as content. The internet has this bizarre power to make the unacceptable look ordinary if you watch it long enough. Some of the chat doubled down, joking, spamming emojis, convinced it was just some edgy performance piece. Others began to panic, firing off messages like, "Is he okay?" or "Someone please check on him." But here's the thing.
Fils de pute, ferme ta gueule!
On a platform built for entertainment, concern doesn't always turn into action. Typing a worried comment is easy. Closing the app and convincing yourself it was all part of the show is even easier. Treating it like a genuine emergency? That's rare. And that gap, the space between witnessing harm and actually doing something about it, is exactly what makes trash streaming so dangerous. It thrives on that hesitation, on viewers watching but not intervening until it's far too late. For 10 long days, this nightmare unfolded in front of the camera. 10 days where exhaustion, humiliation, and violence were dressed up as if they were just another form of content. And then, without warning, everything stopped. The stream didn't cut out. The chat didn't fade away. What stopped was him. Viewers noticed he wasn't moving anymore. No gestures, no words, not even the smallest twitch that could be played off as part of an act. The shift in mood was instant.
Non, la porte, ça fait mal. Attention, attention, les doigts, les doigts. Sac à vomi, pète à câble.
Toi, tu veux que ça t'encule, wesh.
Mais fais un sourire, après ils vont dire ouais.
Ouais, on est des
pas dans le live.
On est des harceleurs, on est des harceleurs. Depuis quand moi j'harcèle?
Lâche-moi, fils de pute.
On nettoie. Bien.
Lâche-moi!
The same chat that had been cracking jokes and spamming emojis suddenly filled with alarm. Panic replaced laughter. Some viewers scrambled to alert authorities, while others clung to denial, convincing themselves it had to be another stunt. But the truth was unavoidable. By the time help finally arrived, it was too late. Raphael Graven was gone. The news spread like wildfire. French authorities moved quickly, launching a full investigation and naming the two influencers suspected of orchestrating the ordeal. It wasn't just a story for niche internet forums anymore. Mainstream media outlets across Europe ran it front and center, framing it not only as a tragedy, but as a wake-up call. Parents who had no idea what their kids were watching suddenly heard about trash streaming for the first time. Lawmakers demanded answers. Journalists dug into how a platform designed for connection and entertainment could so easily morph into a stage for torment and abuse. What had been a hidden corner of online culture was dragged into the spotlight, and nobody could look away. And that's the question hanging over this case. How did we even get here? How do you go from harmless cat clips and goofy gaming fails to a man losing his life live on camera? The answer isn't hidden in some mystery. It's right there in the economics of attention. Outrage pays, shock pays, pain pays. The internet rewards the loudest, most unhinged voices because that's what keeps people watching. And when you're a creator in an ocean of millions all fighting for the same sliver of attention, the temptation to keep raising the stakes can be impossible to resist. It stops being about making content people enjoy and starts being about survival in a system that punishes you for being ordinary. If a funny skit gets you 1,000 views, then a dangerous stunt gets you 10,000. If a prank gets you 1 million clicks, then something humiliating or violent might get you 10 million. Each escalation feels like the only way forward, and before long, creators aren't just chasing laughs, they're chasing spectacle no matter the cost. And in a culture where clicks equal currency, extreme behavior doesn't just survive, it thrives. This isn't even new when you think about it. Reality TV made humiliation into a business model decades ago. The difference is, reality TV had producers, editors, networks, People who, at least in theory, kept some boundaries in place. Trash streaming has none of that. It's raw, it's live, and it's happening in real time with no one to say stop. Until, of course, it goes so far that tragedy makes stopping unavoidable. What makes Pormanove's story even heavier is the role of the audience. Thousands of people saw it unfold. Some tried to help, others treated it like a dark joke, and plenty just watched silently. It's easy to blame the people directly involved, and they absolutely deserve blame. But the truth is, the culture of streaming thrives on an audience willing to click, watch, and reward cruelty. Every donation, every emoji, every subscription validates the behavior. Without that feedback loop, trash streaming wouldn't even exist. That doesn't mean everyone watching was complicit in his death, but it does mean we, as internet users, need to ask harder questions. What do we choose to support? What do we click on without thinking? Because when someone is literally suffering for views, staying silent isn't neutral. It's part of the problem. The aftermath has left platforms scrambling. You'll hear executives talk about community guidelines and safety policies. But if those guidelines can't stop a 10-day torture session from being broadcast, what are they really worth? Algorithms are designed to keep people watching, not to protect people from harm. And when harm becomes entertainment, the system looks less like a platform and more like an accomplice. At the same time, it would be naive to think platforms can fix everything. They can improve moderation, yes. They can hire more human reviewers instead of leaving everything to AI filters. They can make it easier for viewers to flag emergencies, but there will always be creators trying to exploit the cracks, which is why responsibility also has to land on audiences. If viewers treat cruelty as content, someone will always be willing to supply it. And that's the heartbreaking part of Pormanove's legacy. His story isn't just about one man and two collaborators who went too far. It's about the culture we've built online, a culture where clicks have consequences, but those consequences are often hidden until it's too late. So what do we take away from this? For one, don't underestimate the power of what you watch. Every click is a vote, every share is a green light. And if we want the internet to be more than a circus of pain, we have to start voting differently. Support creators who build without harming themselves or others. Call out streams that look more disturbing than entertaining. Report content that crosses obvious lines. Because the internet can be beautiful when it's used to connect people, inspire them, make them laugh. But when it rewards cruelty, it becomes something else entirely, a digital battlefield where humanity gets lost. Jean Pormanove's story is a reminder of what's at stake when we forget that difference. If this story made you pause, made you think twice about what we consume online, then carry that forward. Be the viewer who demands better. And if you want more stories that uncover the strange, dark, and revealing side of internet culture, hit like, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.